Top 10 MLB teams that should have won it all. Number 10, the 2015 New York Mets. So we start out this countdown with a pretty recent World Series, which was last year. They are number 10 because not many people expected the Mets to be in this position. They just stormed and they had such a great postseason run, and Daniel Murphy helped them a lot when he went hot in the NLCS and swept the Cubs. But this is the New York Mets. We knew they had great pitching. We just thought it was going to be either the Nationals or, honestly, the Royals. The Royals or the Nationals that were going to win the World Series. Of course, the Royals did win the World Series against these New York Mets. But for me, I feel like they really should have won it all. Just because they got hot at the right time. It was the postseason, that half in August when they really needed that surge. And, Cespedes coming into town and just, David Wright finally coming back healthy. They got on a tear and they showed why they deserve to be the NL East champs. Again, this is a team that eliminated the Nationals from the playoffs really because they just kept beating them in pivotal moments and in pivotal times. And they finished with a 90-72 record. So first in the NL East, they are NL East division champs that year. Their manager was Terry Collins, and honestly, they were extremely talented ball club for sure. As you can see, they only lasted 5 games against the Royals. They only won 1 game, which is sad. DeGrom, Harvey, Harvey was pretty good, but DeGrom really struggled in the World Series. I'm sure he regrets that to this day. He wish he could go back to repair what he did. But you can't blame these guys. These guys were young. I just thought they should definitely. This is a team that should have won it all, just from their star pitching and just batting, their hitting at the right time. Overall, what we had was the original starter was Darno, and he was very, very valuable to them. You're looking at what they had. They had Darno, Duda at first. Second was Daniel Murphy. Shortstop Wilmer Flores, which obviously that fun story about him almost getting traded, him crying because he did not want to leave the Mets organization. They kept him. Again, they had Eric Campbell at third. They had at left was at times Kadire. They had Lagares, which was a Gold Glove type winner, and Curtis Granderson. Again, they also had guys like David Wright when he came back to third. They had a utility guy in Juan Uribe. They had Michael Conforto coming, very young guy that they gave him some playing time, and he excelled. And Cespedes did what he could, and he did a lot for the New York Mets. And, still this year he does. But looking at just that year itself, they had a great lineup. They had, they just had some great players around them, and they had a great pitcher staff. When you have Cologne, you have DeGrom, Harvey, Neese, and Syndergaard, along with relievers like Familia. I mean, this is just definitely a team that got up there. Steven Matz, again, another young ace that is now officially like a starting guy. It's incredible to just see how they got so close yet so far, and the Royals deserve to win that series, but Mets could have easily won it as well if their pitching and their hitting were a lot better. But definitely great job for the New York Mets. They should be number 10. Great job, great season. So close. We'll see what happens to them in the future. Number 9, the 2014 Kansas City Royals. 2014 Kansas City Royals was a magical team. It was a team that really people were coming in and were like, all right, they're versing the Oakland A's. Oakland A's is a new series, new season type thing. We know they got, I don't even know how it happened, but this was a team that, frankly, was pretty much the best in baseball. And they acquired, Lester. They acquired Samardzija. They had some of these guys, some of these keen guys in the pitching rotation. And they just got, I don't know, they just went downhill. Of course, the Cespedes home run power type thing was in effect for sure on that. But you're just looking at how, honestly, these Royals just, they were down in the wild card game. We're not expecting much. James Shields not bad pitching. He would go on to have a really good really really good pitching postseason. So overall, I can't say enough about him and enough about this Kansas City Royals team. That was pretty much a Cinderella story. They win in Oakland. They win in Kansas City in extra innings. Salvador Perez, that RBI there in late extras. Um, they do that. They go there. They go beat up the Los Angeles Angels with a star in Mike Trout. Uh, just a whole team that really could have been World Series contenders. Beat them down. Go to against the Baltimore Orioles, which is the Baltimore Orioles. In my opinion, I said, okay, this is a team that's gonna win They're going to the World Series. They might not win, but they're going to the series. They had Nelson Cruz, they had Adam Jones, they had the power, they had the pitching, they had the relief staff. I thought, there you go. That's how it's gonna go. And they even took the Giants to 7. And there was that late inning. Alex Gordon. I think it's Alex Gordon. He hits. He gets a triple, and they were so close. Pablo Sandoval catches the World Series ending. The World Series ending out, unfortunately. And it was actually, if it wasn't caught, it wouldn't have been technically anything. It would have just been a foul, and that's not the misfortunate about it. But yeah, Kansas City. This is a magical team. 89-73, second in the AL Central. Again, Detroit won the Central that year. But I mean, this is a team that really I thought, wow, this is definitely a team that should have won. Of course, I know in my heart of hearts that they deserved it the next year, so they were just a better team overall. But Kansas City, though, Kansas City had a magical run for sure. Um, overall, overall, you looked at what they had in the roster, and of course you have Perez over there. You have Perez. They had at first Eric Hosmer, second Omar Infante. They had Alcides Escobar, Moustakas, Alex Gordon, Lorenzo Cain, Aoki, Billy Butler, Jared Dyson was there. They're definitely one of their great steal specialists against a very fast team and a great fielding team for sure. And then looking at their pitching staff, they had Shields, they had Guthrie, Vargas, Ventura, Duffy, Holland, Davis, and Herrera made that relief pitching staff dangerous. Again, Duffy was a young guy. Ventura, he kind of showed up in the postseason for sure. Guthrie and Vargas, those veteran type guys, along with Shields, that was the ace. Overall, this is a good run for them. Nothing really upsetting at all for them. They got the World Series in that last year. So really, not much to be sad about in Kansas City. Yes, they won. They lost that one, but they won one. So we'll see how they do if they win again. Not looking like they will next year, but most likely they could in the near future. Who knows? But Kansas City is number 9. Number 8, the 1977 Los Angeles Dodgers. As we get a little closer, I explain why they really deserve it more and more and more, why they really got to this spot of pretty much being a team that should have won it all. The 1977 Los Angeles Dodgers lost the World Series 4-2 against the New York Yankees. They had a 98-64 record. They were first in the NL West. Tommy Lasorda was their manager. Overall, it was going to be a team that was coached well-rounded, just because Tommy Lasorda was a great manager. Overall, you had Steve Eager, you had Steve Garvey, you had Davey Lopes, Bill Russell, Ron Say, Dusty Baker, Rick Monday before he became really, he was a bust, and then Reggie Smith. So Reggie Smith, with the power and all that. I mean, they all had power. It was just a really good team overall, made up of people that had a chance of being Hall of Famers. You had Don Sutton, you had Bert Hooton, you had Tommy John, Rick Rhoden, you had Doug Rao, Charlie Huff was your closer. I mean, overall, they had a great quality team that I honestly think they should have won the World Series, but they went up against the New York Yankee team that was powerful in the 70s. So definitely, the Reggie Jackson-led type Yankees. But yeah, number 8, the 77 Dodgers. Number 7, the 2014 Pittsburgh Pirates. So we all know about 2013, their first time since '92 getting into the postseason. We all know about that crowd, just so loud, and they were so amazing. They won the game. They took the Nationals to 5. Um, Overall, this was a team that I thought, that year I was like, okay, well, I mean, they're just getting started. They're going to get somewhere else. They're going to get farther than the NLDS. They're going to get to the NLCS and eventually the World Series with how they're doing. So 2014 comes around, and their roster as it is was they continue with Russell Martin. We all know what he played out to be. Ike Davis as their first baseman. Pedro Alvarez was third. You're looking at Jordy Mercer. You had Neil Walker. You had Starling Marte, which was like a star already in the making. Gregor Polanco was a star in the making. McCutchen, he just recently won his NL MVP. And then you had a guy emerging in Josh Harrison, Travis Snyder, a good utility guy. At times they used Gabby Sanchez. So this was a team that, okay, they had guys. Along with that, they had Edson Volquez, which like they did with Liriano, where they got his career bumping again. Well, Volquez, they got his career bumping again with playing for the Pittsburgh Pirates, along with Liriano, Charlie Morton. They had Garrett Cole, which was a young stud. Jeff Locke, Vance Worley. They had a great pitching rotation. They really did. Along with relievers that really they can pitch their heart out. Jared Hughes, Tony Watson, and Mark Melanson. Oof. And again, Vance Worley was on the relieving staff as well too when he wasn't starting. But you're just looking at what they had, and they had a lot. They had guys. They were ready to go. This is a team that when I saw them, I'm like, yeah, they're ready. They're ready to do it. They're ready to walk in to any situation, and I think they can pull it out. This was just a team that was ready. And you just look at what they did. They got to the wild card game with an 88-74 record, so second in the NL Central, right? Clint Hurdle is still one of the best managers out there in baseball, but he's proven to be that, and he proved it, by getting him to the postseason. So he got into the postseason again. This time the wild card game again, right? And we're like, okay, it's San Francisco Giants. It's a good Giants team, but we expect the Pirates at home to win and then go on to move on, because this was not a team that were like, oh, because they're home. No, it's because this is a very talented squad that I thought, this is a team that could definitely do a lot of good things. They already had a great batting lineup. They already had great utility guys. They had great pitching. So I thought, they were going to do fine, and they get shut down by Madison Bumgarner. I didn't appreciate Madison Bumgarner until that game. Until he started performing, and I'm like, Madison Bumgarner is good, but I don't think he can be great. I don't think he can pull out this thing. I don't think he can pitch great against the Pirates hitters. And he did just that. He shut them down. And you just look at the agony of what Pittsburgh must have been through. They only scored 1 run. So it's not like they lost by a million runs. They lost 1-0. And that's the worst part, is that you could not even get a run in, and you allowed one early. Volquez was, a little rattled, but then he went back to his zone, and it was too late because they could not hit anything. And, once that hits, you got Sergio Romero over there, and he's ready to just close it out. And that's what sucks about it, is you don't have enough time with the Giants. The Giants always seem to just be right. When they get into the postseason, they just seem to be dangerous and ready to go. And Bruce Bochy, he coaches them well. And again, they were to be the World Series champions later on in that postseason to the Royals, but this is a Pittsburgh Pirates team that really, honestly, this is a team that should have won it all. Didn't have the opportunity to. Unfortunately, didn't have the opportunity to, but they should have won the World Series for sure. Number 6, the 1995 Cleveland Indians. So everyone says definitely 97. They should have won that World Series. 95, they ran into such a powerful and upbeat team in the Atlanta Braves. Just how they won that World Series then, and they were a powerhouse team in the 90s for sure, but only winning 1. That's something of a shock. That's something that's always remembered as the Atlanta Braves, which sucks for them. But anyway, We're not talking about them. We're talking about the Cleveland Indians and how that was such a fun team to watch. That was a fun team to just look at and to just be around of and to be a part of baseball at the time was incredible. When you had the Seattle Mariners and you had the Indians there, it was incredible to just see just the fun teams that really could have made a difference to win it all, you know? And honestly, just looking at it right now, Cleveland Indians, they stomped the Red Sox, got 6 games out from the Mariners, so they beat the Mariners in the ALCS and lose 6 games to the Braves. Again, yes, they did come out with great quality pitching. The thing is, the manager Mike Hargrove, 100 games that they won. 144 was their record. First in the AL Central. This was a fun team. This is a team that really should have won. This is a team that should have won it all. Just from you just look at the entire roster, how entertaining this is. Tony Pena, Paul Sorrento, Carlos Baerga, Omar Vizquel, Jim Thome, Albert Bell, Kenny Lofton, Manny Ramirez, Eddie Murray. They had and Sandy Alomar was in there. You had and Dave Winfield was in there. You had guys that were just so entertaining to watch. This was a combination of power, speed, just hitting ability, just everything. Defense, swagger, they had it all. And I love that about the 95 Indians. They had it all, and unfortunately they didn't get it done, but you just look at what they had. Hershiser was there, and Dennis Martinez. Nagy was pretty good. Mark Clark, Chad O'Hay, Ken Hill, again, Jose Mesa, Julian Tavares, Eric Plunk. You guys, and Paul Ostenmacher. You had guys that were great. They had a great pitching rotation, great pitching staff, starting, relievers. They had batters, they had hitters, they had stolen base guys, they just had everything in there, and they were just so close. If this roster in '97, Cleveland Indians would have won. I'm not saying because they didn't have this roster. There were a couple of changes from the roster from '97. That's another reason why I think the Marlins should and did win, was because Indians, they should have kept their group of guys and they would have been the World Series champs anytime. It's just very sad to see that this team with so much talent got so far, but it ended up so short from the goal. So that's something that is very, very saddening to say, but this is a team that was entertaining and should have won it all for sure. Now we're getting into the top 5, and number 5 is the 1996 Atlanta Braves. Pretty much, the Atlanta Braves were a team that just got off of a World Series title. They actually do come back to the World Series a year after they win it, which is something that's great. And obviously, in my opinion, this is a Braves team that probably should have won back-to-back against the New York Yankees. No, they don't. They lose in 6 to the New York Yankees, to a squad that just wasn't that great. I feel like the Braves were just better than the Yankees were at that year. And it's sad to just say it, because this is the Atlanta Braves team that got to the postseason, and to the World Series many times in the 90s, and they only won one ring. One. They've only won one in their history, and with a squad that they had, it's just unbelievable to just think and just look at how the Braves only won one when they got to the World Series so many times, that it's just crazy to think about. 99 being in that World Series, being in the series in '96, being in the World Series in '95, being in the World Series in '92, being in the series in '97, I believe '97 as well. I mean, it's a team that really is. It's just kind of devastating just to see how they've only won one out of all those chances that they gotten. But moving on from that, yeah, the '96 Braves was a team that should have won back to back. Looking at what they had, Bobby Cox, great, led them to a 96 and 66 record, first in NL East. They had Lopez, they had McGriff, they had Lemke, they had Blazer, they had Jones, Klesko, Grissom, Dye, Pendleton was in there, Justice was in there. They had guys. Andrew Jones was a young 19-year-old, wasn't gonna, he didn't explode till later, but they had what they needed, and they had their pitching rotation, which was the same: Smoltz, Maddox, Glavine. Simple as that. And that's all you needed in the postseason was 3 guys. They had the pitching rotation, which was those 2 guys. Those 3 guys. Sorry. Plus they had, Wallers was a good closer. They had McMichael, which was not bad, and Wade. And also Bourbon when he was able to be on there. They were decent, great. They were great relievers. They were good relievers that made sure they can get to the ninth. Wallers was a great closer at the time. It just, you know, they breezed by the pretty much breezed by it. They had some difficulty with the Cardinals in '96, but to get by them, and you know, unfortunately, things happen, and they just could not get themselves into a rhythm where you see them truly come into their own and truly, you know, become this great, powerful team that they usually are. And unfortunately, things happened, and they could not they really could not do anything. They really could not hit. Really, they couldn't hit much. Besides Grissom and Jones in there, and McGriff. Other than that, they really did not have many power hitters. The pitching was okay. Glav and Maddox did their thing. Smalls did their thing. They just were not. They just didn't score enough runs, and that's the unfortunate part. But they definitely should deserve to have won that World Series though, and that's why they're on this list. Number 4, the 2013 Detroit Tigers, led by a really respected, great manager that would soon retire after Jim Leland. Just what he did really for this club, for this team, was exceptional. Overall, just how he was able to lead them to a 93-69 record, first in the AL Central, but not just this year. Overall, the past, he was able to get the Tigers into the World Series for the first time in forever, and he did many great things for them. And this is another just another example of what could have been, what might have been if it wasn't for circumstances. And unfortunately, when you just look at it, they did a great job in Oakland against Oakland. Yes, they did struggle there. They struggled with the Red Sox at times, thanks to David Ortiz's clutch performance. But also, when you have a certain, just a mistake, one pitch, and I think that Matt Scherzer pitch, that grand slam from Shane Victorino, they're going to be looking at that down the road and be like, man, damn you, Shane Victorino, why did you do this to us? And that's just how I feel that they would feel, and I know the entire Detroit crowd feels that way just because they were so close. Scherzer he was mowing him down, 100 plus pitches, still going strong. I feel like he could have holded him up, and just one bad pitch, Shane Victorino just knocks that out into the Green Monster, and there you go. It's a different ball game, and the Red Sox get to the World Series, and they win the pennant. They win the pennant, and they win the World Series later on. And that's what sucks about it. It's just one bad pitch, really, I think, culminated in just, overall unlucky circumstances, especially with, trying to rob that home run, Torrey Hunter, over the fence, that type of thing. But, it happens. But it's definitely a team that should have definitely deserved to get there, And just with what they had, was exceptional, Jose Iglesias, he got into he was traded from the Red Sox to the Tigers. They had Alex Avila, Fielder, Infante, Peralta, Cabrera, Dirks, Jackson, Hunter, Martinez. It goes on and on. Like I said, this is a great list of great guys here. Cabrera at the time. Just MVP type guys. And power guys. Fielder and Cabrera with those times. Those Detroit Tiger times. This team was just ready. They were ready. Verlander and Scherzer and Fister and Sanchez and Porcello, Benoit as a closer, Smiley and Albuquerque, Koch, Putkin, and these guys, they were ready. They really were ready as a overall group, and it's sad to see, but it was the Red Sox time. Let me tell you, Boston strong. They had it in the bag. They're like, you know what? We need to win for this crowd, and they did. They did it. They pulled it off, and it's unfortunate to just see how it all culminated in the Tigers losing that way. But this is the Tigers team that really, I think they could have won. They could have won it all if they made it past the Red Sox. They would have won it all. This was just a team that already lost a World Series to the Giants. They wanted to win it again. I think they would have. They would have for sure. The 2001 Seattle Mariners are number 3, and really, a lot of people will debate about who should be number 1. If the Mariners should be number 1, just because of 116 wins, most in MLB history. Many teams can do that. 116 and 46. That's what they went. First in the AL West. This Seattle Mariners team was dominant. This is a dominant team. They go past the Indians. They lose in the ALCS in 5 games. 5 games. That's all it took for the New York Yankees to get to the postseason. It's just, it's really incredible to just see that for sure. You don't normally see, things like that where you're like, oh my God, really? They really just got demolished by the New York Yankees. Yes, this is a team that was high powered and an empire for most of the part. They were the bad guys. The guys that you don't want to face because they were just so good that you hated them. Everyone hated them except if you were a New Yorker and if you were a New York fan. Even as a New Yorker, if you're a Met fan, you hate them. But if you're a Yankee fan, or in that area, you love them because it's all they do is win. That's what Steinbrenner was so good at, was making sure these guys knew, hey, you put on these stripes, you're looking to win, nothing else. There's no second place. You want to win the World Series. So the Seattle Mariners, though, it's heartbreaking because this is like really, besides '95, 2001 was one of their just best seasons ever. It was the best season ever for them, but I'm saying just as a collective thing, as them reaching the World Series, 2001 was a great chance of them to do that, especially having Ichiro, where he wins the MVP and Rookie of the Year at the same year. Edgar Martinez is still there. Mike Cameron was a boss at center field. Left field, Al Martin, pretty good left fielder. David Bell had a great year. Carlos Guillen, he was a shortstop there. Brett Boone, second baseman, great, just a great player in general. John Olerud, Dan Wilson. These were guys that were just so key to this organization. Jay Buhner was still there. These are some key dudes. Some key guys that really brought to perspective that, hey, we can actually pull this off. We can win something. We can win a World Series title. And when you had Freddie Garcia, you had Aaron Sele, you had Jamie Moyer, Paul Abbott, Joel Pinheiro, John Halama, and then you had Arthur Rhodes there. You had Jeff Nelson, Norm Charlton. You had a pretty good relieving staff, really, and Sasaki, the closer, 45 saves in that year. Definitely, they were a great team. This was a team that really they should have won it, and the fact that they didn't it shocks me, just because they actually they had no problem with power. I mean, they were all fine with it. I feel like when it came down to it, of course, pitching was key, and the Yankees had it better. They had a better pitch rotation, I would say, just in general. They were just more ready. They had their guys. El Duque and Clemens and Messina and Pettit and all them. But this was definitely a team that should have made it. Should have won to the World Series. They should have won. If they made it, they would have beaten the Diamondbacks, and there would be no Arizona Diamondback World Series at all. There would be one for the Mariners, and again, they would be in their first World Series and win one for the first time ever. But now we're talking about Seattle Mariners. This is the last time they ever got to the postseason, which makes it even much more of a wound and a sting for this community, just to see them that they should have won something for sure. It's almost fitting that along with the 2001 Seattle Mariners, at number 2, the 2001 Oakland Athletics. Just another AL West team in the same year, and they finished second. And here's the reason why I think they should have been second. And this is the reason why I think Oakland got a better chance than the Seattle Mariners. They had a better pitching rotation. Simple as that. They were just better. all around. They had, they had closer. They had, they had their moments. They owned the ALDS. Let me tell you, when I saw statistics, they were very, very much, offensive minded. They actually did have great pitching games. There was nothing that was a slip up for them for sure. There was no slip up. There was nothing that, oh, you know what, that's the reason why they lost. No, they had great numbers, and for the star players that needed to go out there and pitch, which was, we all know about the trio of Mulder, Zito, and Hudson, they were fine. They were absolutely fine. They 102 games and 60 losses. So you're looking at the AL West, and that was a competitive division that year. Just overall, looking at it, Billy Beane just created this in a small market, an exciting ball club, and it's shown in recent years. But this year, especially, this is the reason why they should be number two. Just the roster and everything they had. This should have been a team that this should have been a team that should have won it all. Really, you had the two Giambi brothers. Jason again was a lot more talented than Jeremy. Ramon Hernandez, Menachino. But you're looking at the superstars, Tejada and Eric Chavez and Johnny Damon and Jermaine Dye, and you just look at, you're like, wow, Ron Gant was in there, it just makes you just think, and you're like, wow, this is a really great team, and along with pitching of Tim Hudson, Mulder, Zito, and great pitching from Lytle, this was a team that really could have, this is a team that could have won a World Series. Like I said, Seattle, they also could have won, but Oakland had just a better chance. It just had a better pitching rotation. Isringhausen as the closer, Magnante, and Jeff Tam. Those are the three guys reliever-wise that just stand out. They were just better pitching rotation. There's a better relieving, and the offense was a lot better. There was a lot more power, and there was a lot more runs that could have been scored, more than the Seattle Mariners had. Ichiro is not known for power. He was known for hitting and getting on base. But, when you don't have the power like what Oakland had, that's why they're number two. And, again, just they get stopped by the New York Yankees, just like the Seattle Mariners. They got stopped by the New York Yankees. So, overall, two unlucky ball clubs that had to face the evil empire and had to pay for it. But, Oakland Athletics, they should have made a run. I feel like if they won the ALDS, they could have definitely won the ALCS. It would have been definitely Game 7 for Seattle and Oakland, but, whatever happens, happens. But either of those teams, whoever wins, would have won the Arizona Diamondbacks, and they would have won the World Series. So imagine this. You're one strike away from winning a World Series, and you have 100-plus mile-an-hour fastball. You're a young guy. Your name is Neftali Feliz. You just throw one pitch, and you're like, I know it's going to happen. He hits it, and magic of David Freese happens. What are you going to do? Especially when he later on walks off, and they say, see you tomorrow night for Game 7. That, to me, is already a gut-wrenching. It's a great World Series, but it's also a heartbreaking World Series when you're the team that you knew were better than your opponent. And that is the number one team that should have won the World Series. The 2011 Texas Rangers had everything going for them. I thought they were going to win. Their pitching was outstanding. I knew they were going places, and I knew they were going to win the World Series, and they lose because David Freese, just the magic of him in Game 6, and then it just happens Game 7, boom, we're just going to shut it down now. And that's what happens. It's incredible because what they had, though, was incredible. Michael Young, Nelson Cruz, Andy Chavez, David Murphy was a great contributor, Mike Napoli, Josh Hamilton, Adrian Beltre, Elvis Andrus, Ian Kinsler, Mitch Moreland, Yorvit Torrealba. They had guys. They had the bodies. They were healthy. C.J. Wilson, Colby Lewis, Holland, Harrison, Ogando, all those guys. Great staff. World Series comes, clutch. Holland, clutch. Wilson, clutch. Harrison, Lewis, they guys pitched well. Neftali Feliz, scary dude to face. Darren Oliver, Mark Lowe, Arthur Rhodes he had some quality games, and he came up big at times for this Texas Rangers team. So this was a complete team that I said this is going to be a World Series team, and boom, one pitch, one thing, it just messes it up, just like what I said with the Detroit Tigers. Just one little thing messes it up, and that's why you see a scenario in which you're so close to your goal, and it gets taken away right away with just one swing of the bat. And that's very sad to just say, but this is a team that dominated. They absolutely knew what they were doing. They beat the Rays. They went through the Tigers. And hey, I mean, they were up 3-2. They were ready to win the World Series. But yes, they lost in 2010. Okay, we lost to the Giants. But we're versing the Cardinals, and this Cardinals team is way not as good as we are. Because we know, not we, I'm talking about the Texas Rangers. They knew, as an individual, if let's say I'm in the Rangers, we are better than the Cardinals. That's the mentality they had. They are better, and they were better. They were just a better club. I don't know. I feel like you needed to focus. You had one more game. They could have won Game 7. If they just kind of loosen up to the all right. You know what? We lost this one, but when it's this gut wrenching, when it's this close, when it's so close to the goal, and it just so happens that it gets snatched away, your focus it's lost. And I think that's why they couldn't wrap it up. Their focus was just lost after that pitch. After tying the ball game up, they lost complete confidence and they did not know what to do. And it's sad, but this is the team that really should have won the World Series because they were the guys that were the closest to winning it all.